Hello again. And this is like one of those rare times where I'll post two videos in the same day regarding the game in Pulpit. Um, I felt like this needed to be said. I've been thinking about this for a while, in terms of what causes the Xbox Sony pony, fanboy, console war situation. I just never, I mean, I know why I like the PlayStation. You know what I mean? I know why I like it. Like it's no secret. Like for me, back when I was younger, I used to always like I wanted more of a cinematic movie type of an experience, and Nintendo never really offered that. Actually, Sega offered it. They've had great relationships with third party developers, and they made some pretty edgy type games and stuff like that. So when they actually went under and stopped making console games, there was really no other company other than Sony at the time to create like these cinematic experiences. And I actually got into the PlayStation because of Tomb Raider. The camera angles were really cinematic. The animations were super top notch in the game. It was more so than anything that I've ever seen, and it was very reminiscent to Prince of Persia, which was on the Genesis and other consoles of that time. So that was my reasoning for kind of sticking with Sony, and for 3 generations or 4 generations, they stuck with the cinematic experience, which actually grew the industry. No lie. It grew the industry. It grew the industry. It made it more of a serious contender, sort of like for movies and things of that nature. So that's my reasoning for it. That and Sony, they strive to make bleeding edge technology when it comes to, or they stick on, they are on top of the bleeding edge technology when it comes to their games. Either it's the technology that drives them, or basically it's their art style and things of that of that category. It's one or the other. And every generation they've gotten better and better at the whole cinematic experience. That is my reason for liking PlayStation. But then there's other people that they I guess they like it because of the Japanese, the Japanese support. I mean, I don't know. I mean, honestly, the most egregious that I find in terms of fanboys are really Xbox fanboys. I'm really curious to find out what drives them. I was curious to find out what drives them. What was the reasoning for them to actually like that system? Like, what drives you? Is it Xbox Live? You know what I'm saying? Is it just chatting with your friends? I don't see the games that they had back in the 360 and the original Xbox were multiplayer centric. So I imagine on a psychological level that they were attached to those experiences, and that's what they attribute that to. I would imagine that's what is going on with them. So I did a little bit of research and I found out a couple different things. I found these two phrases that are associated with being a fanboy, which is social identity theory. There's the social identity theory, and then there is a choice supportive bias. I'm not going to get into what they mean. I feel like they're self-explanatory, but they have run an experiment with that. They found out that in your brain, when you see the product that you do like or favor, you get like a dopamine type of an effect to it. You get happy. Your mood changes when you see your favorite product. Conversely, you get a sort of disdain when you see the other product. And that's what pisses people off when create this fanboy or a violent reaction when it comes to seeing something that's not your favorite console or device or whatever it is. Looking at what they were doing here, I can attribute to a couple of different things, right? I mentioned before that one of the things that would make someone, go to a certain platform is I will say the identity. If you were one of those people where you attribute your identity to a product or you attribute your identity to an experience, that's what you would latch onto. So anything that will, basically contest that, there will be a violent reaction to it. You'll be pissed off because it's like it's attacking you, So if you did like the whole online aspect of Xbox Live, and people say, well, online is not even that serious, you would feel like it's coming at you. That is something that you feel offended, because it was like a personal attack at that point. So that's where the identity theory comes in, when you associate an inanimate object to your identity based off of either your preferences that this company aligns to or your experiences. There is also the choice supportive bias, right? Where you will be like, status driven. Because if it's expensive, like look at the iPhones for instance, that's an expensive phone. And people attribute, or even fucking not even iPhones. You can look at the shoes and shit like that. Jordans. I don't think they look that good, honestly. There's like one or two that looks good, but then those shoes are like $200-$300, right? But it's not about the shoe. It's about the status that goes along with it. You know what I mean? That name is associated with having money, and having, it's not about taste, it's about the money that's involved. So you feel like, well, look, I got the money. And then other people will see you have those shoes and they just automatically assume this nigga may have a lot of money, and they like that feeling. Going back to the console arena, right? You have these expensive consoles and you're paying a premium price, and it makes you feel inclusive. It makes you feel like I'm in some sort of club that I'm paying for this shit, and people are just like me, and there's this exclusive thing going on and nobody else has it and stuff like that. And that way you become attached. That becomes your, becomes your identity as well, and it becomes your support. You made that choice because you feel like it's inclusive to you. You know what I mean? You want to feel different. You want to be in this little club, and it's how Costco gets their fucking business, and BJ's, But you want to feel a part of the shit, and you're like, okay, I paid all this money. Other people are paying all this money, so it can't be that fucking bad. And I don't want to look stupid for paying all this money just because, just because of status. So again, you get a violent reaction when somebody contests this shit. You're like, you don't know anything about it. You have no taste or whatever the case is, or I can do whatever the fuck I want with my own money and things. Like, I never understood that shit. But I guess that's a part of being human, you know what I mean? There are just people in general that needs to fit in. Maybe that's the real psychological thing that these companies kind of like prey on. People that are weak and just can't really make their own minds up when it comes to certain things, or don't have a good grasp of of their own identity. So they look for another company to kind of like basically spell it out for them. I've already laid it in the beginning of this video as to why I like the cinematic experience. I want to feel like, you know what I mean? I'm already in the real world, so I want to feel like I want to be in a movie or in a fantasy like setting that is something that's not too far out. So that's why I was never big into Final Fantasies or anything like that. I was never big in those extra fantasy things. It kind of takes me out a little bit too much. If it has some sort of realism surrealism type situation going on, I'm most likely going to be a part of that situation. I like it, honestly. Like, I like feeling like that hyper fantasy or hyper reality situation, which is why I like the game that you're reviewing now, which is the Horizon Zero Dawn. It's implausible, but it's close to being plausible. You know, it's one of those situations. But I truthfully think that that's why I would say that's why it's the most egregious on the Xbox, because they engineered these things probably through focus groups. You know, this club of Xbox Live where I get this special treatment and stuff like that. You know, it makes you feel like you are essentially, you know, important. And then on top of it, you spend all this money over the course of time, and then they got you buying controllers and multiple consoles over and over and over again. You just invested like fucking $1,500 in this bitch. And you don't want to be wrong or look stupid for investing that much money. You don't want to be wrong for that. So you're going to, because if you are wrong, once again, that comes as a dig towards you and your personality. It's like a mistake. I don't want to make the wrong decisions or anything like that. So you fight it. You fight this type of mentality. You fight any kind of opposition. And that's what's really going on with that. You know, you don't want to be wrong and you don't want to look stupid. So you want to irrationally, fight this shit off. That's what I think. It's either comes down to two things. Either, what was it again? Hold on. I'm sorry. I had it like written down and shit like that. My phone keeps turning it off. So it's either you're attached because of the experience or feeling inclusive, or you're attached because of finances. So let me know in the comments what you think about the video. Let me know if you dislike or like the video, and if you liked it, the sub would be appreciated.